Hello, I'm going to do a book haul. Lots of struggles doing live stuff with Chris recently. Hopefully, we get that worked out soon. But and I debated doing this live, but I think it's a little too much, and I think I would get too distracted. It's already going to be distracting enough. I've got a bunch of books. I actually got a book today, a very specific book I got today that I'm really kind of excited about. Right? Maybe the only time I've ever reached out to somebody and says, "Please give me your book. What do I need to do to get it?" It arrived today, and so I'm pretty excited. So I'm gonna unbox it, although it didn't come in a box, it came in a bag. So here we are. Here we have the envelope. We're gonna open this book, and you can see this is a singular book. At least I believe it is. So sometimes you go on these book hunts, and you're kind of like, "Ooh, I really want to read this book," and then it's like it's really expensive or hard to get, or something just like prohibitively so. But I saw this book and I was really interested, and I got the ebook and started reading it and really liked it, and then wanted to own a copy and could not find it. I mean, I went Amazon, eBay, nothing, like zip. I even went to Bookfinder and tried that, got no results. So finally, I found the writer. I found his website. Contact me. I'm like, can I buy a copy of your book from you, please? And he's like, how about I send you one? He didn't take any money from me to send me this book, which is awesome. And he asked, so this is awesome. The Wyvern and Wolf, A Tale of the 12-Foot Ninja, and there's a story. Oh wow, it's got this gorgeous. I didn't know, so I don't know. It's got this gorgeous map on the inside. Nicholas Snelling. Oh wow, and he even inscribed it. I guess inscribed it. So pretty great. It's a so let me read you about this. Anyway, so I'm telling you about how excited I was, but you don't know anything about it, right? So let me give you a little heads up for it. And of course, here's the back of the book too. We get this awesome sort of, and sorry about these crinkly packages, so I'm gonna move them. There's tons of other books, but this is the one I was waiting for this, and when I contacted him, he said that he was in sort of like a legal battle to get control of his book back, and that he just got it and it's going to be republished. So I'm excited to see that, and he's got the second book written. I've read maybe about 5% of the book. I mean, it's a big book, so that's not nothing. And I asked, he said he had this like book just in his supply. So this was just to tide me over. As soon as that next publication comes out, I'm totally picking it up based on what I've read so far. And this is something I hope to read and talk about soon. Well, it's not exactly short. So, The Wyvern and Wolf by Nicholas Snelling. It says, eons have passed since a great doom befell the elder civilization of Antediluvian. I believe that's correct. What remains of its descendants now reside in the ruins of a shattered realm, but with the unearthing of an old prophecy comes an escalation of terrifying events. When an otherworldly maelstrom appears in the sky, an ancient tree-dwelling creature saves a young girl from the maws of monsters to become her reluctant guardian in remote wilderness. After a young samurai boy named Kiyoshi is spirited away to the mountain stronghold of a clan of ninja, he falls under the protection of their mysterious Oyabun. But for how long? I don't know if I said that right. Hunted by masked assassins, an elderly warrior is enlisted by a tribe of marauding cannibals to help arm them against a mutual enemy. A pair of pariahs, an exiled sheik and a heretic math magician, form an unlikely alliance in a sinister plot to exhume primeval technologies and seize a great power. Rumored to be the last of a race of immortal healers, a wandering witch becomes embroiled in a frightening conspiracy when he crosses paths with an infamous Ronin outlaw. Accused of war crimes and worse, he flees the sadistic, burned priests of the Inquisition and the vengeful wrath of his old nemesis, the Shogun. Meanwhile, the fanatical samurai of the Imperial White stand against the constant vigil over the gilded sarcophagus of their hibernating emperor, the Undying. Few believe he shall ever rise again, and even those who know better pray the same. How all these things are interconnected remains unsure, yet one thing seems certain. Forces unknown desperately want the boy Kiyoshi dead, and no one knows why. Yeah, it read really good. I really liked the writing that I read. And to me, and I kind of told him this too, this is like, this to me it really read or sounded like like a novelization, or like a in the spirit of the game Kenshi. Now, maybe you don't know what Kenshi is or isn't. It's a computer PC game, right? That is sort of like sometimes called sword punk. It's sort of like samurai ninja stuff in this like alien planet with alien and like weird stuff going on. You just look up Kenshi like on YouTube. You're going to get tons of like videos and everything of people playing the game. You know, Tor Solo was one thing, although I don't know that's the best place to learn about Kenshi per se. But yeah, look up Kenshi. There's some great videos out there. Maybe I'll see if I can link one. I can link the video that got me hooked on Kenshi, or got me interested. In fact, I bought a gaming PC specifically because I wanted to play Kenshi, and this book was like giving the same exact energy to me as Kenshi. Now, Nicholas Snelling doesn't know anything about that game. As he said, I don't even know what this is, which is fine, right? He said his inspirations for the ninja elements of this, which was interesting to me, which is kind of how I discovered this, came from Shogun and the Eric Van Lusbar book, Ninja, the Ninja. Is it Van Lusbar? I think so. That's a long way of saying I'm really excited for this book, and I'm really excited to read it, and this is totally something I'm going to read this summer. I'm planning to read it. I hope to pick up the newly released version when it comes out, and the sequel when it comes out. Just looks great. It's got all kinds of like Asian influence and like weird fantasy and post-apocalyptic stuff, and that's like hitting every single one of the things that I like. So it's pretty awesome. So anyways, I'm really excited about this book. Wyvern and the Wolf, Nicholas Snelling. You can buy the ebook right now. And when that new version comes out, when the new publication comes out, I'll make sure to let everybody know. So I'm excited about this, but there is more books after this. So that was kind of cool. I was just like, I saw that package and it said Australia, and I was like, oh, I know what this is. I know what this is. Yes. I was excited. Okay. So there, excitement. There it is, right? Just in time for Christmas for me. Now we have a literal, I would say a literal ton, but that's actually a figurative ton of books to show off. The other book I got today, I've been meaning to pick up, and then I saw we were talking about it over in the live stream on Richard's channel that he did a few days ago. It was a Bob Shaw book, The Night Walk, right? And I liked this weird cover. That's the one I wanted. I was like, give me that cover with those weird faces and the green. I was like, oh, I want that cover. Yeah, so it got a good price on it. But maybe you didn't see Richard's live stream. Shame on you. Let me read you the back of this. Into the Black. The policeman of a prison planet M. Luther had taken Earth agent Sam Talon's eyes and exiled him into a swamp as dense and eerie as the black void of his sightless days. But when Talon invented a means of seeing, awkward, painful, but still a way to make escape just faintly possible, he saw through the eyes of a bird, a dog, a woman guard. Soon he would see himself through the eyes of his enraged M. Lutheran pursuers, for they'd never let him go. They'd seal off the whole planet first. For Sam Talon was the possessor of the most important secrets in the universe. And all this talk about horror books that Chris and Brian have been doing. And of course, this suggests that there could be other difficulties. We could always go back to doing Discord, which is a pain, but we could do it. I'm sure we'll get the other thing figured out. Looking at horror book covers, I was thinking in the back of my mind, this book that we used to own when I was young, and I read it in high school, like for a book report that I had to write or something. I had to read a book and write a report about it. And I read this book, but I remembered nothing about it. And I wanted to find it because the cover was very memorable. And I did find it when I was looking for some other books. Someone had it in their in their eBay store, and I found it. I don't remember what book I got with this, but it doesn't matter. I found it, and I was like, and I looked up, like, is this book any good? And people were like, oh yeah, it's really good. And it's a good kind of like quiet horror. I'm like, okay. And that's The Tea Party. That is The Tea Party by Charles L. Grant. And there's that cover that I was looking for, right? And I tried all kinds of searches, and nothing would show me this. Nothing would bring this image up. I was trying like just everything. And it's about this one I don't need glasses for. Deerfield, a sleepy village untouched by time, full of quaint antiques, charming sights, and friendly neighbors. But outside of Deerfield, nature is still. No children play around the great stone house of Wintrust. No birds fly over its ancient trees, and tales of witches and demons fill the dreams of Deerfield's children. Now the great house is stirring, stretching, hungry. Now the huge doors open, inviting unwary victims. Deep inside, the warm stone walls are heaving, the floors are pulsing. Now the frenzied ritual must begin. Sounds pretty cool. A quote from Stephen King in the back of this. Oh, is there? Yeah, I wonder what they... that's a first. One of the premier horror writers of this or any generation. Which is cool for Stephen King to say, but he said so many things about so many people that it kind of watered himself down, right? Yeah, that's what we're going to say. With that, I think, I don't remember if I got it with this book or something else. I got a free additional book, which I think was kind of cool. And I got this book, which is not highly regarded, but has a cool cover. Body English by Linda Maries. If you don't know yet, I can't pronounce anything. This one needs the glasses. Oh yeah, poke yourself in the eye first is a good choice. She had her college degree. Laura Ireland was a bright young anthropologist grad student who'd come to Washington State to pursue her championship game of volleyball, a tall, all-American beauty with a clean slate and a bright future. Now she'll get the third degree for murder. But once Laura had been one of the lovers of college Lothario, Professor Larry Todd, an unknowing accomplice in his smuggling ring of priceless Indian artifacts. Manipulating Prof had all the letters Laura naively sent him confessing their passion and crimes. Now Todd is found lying in a barmaid's bed with a rather picturesque shotgun hole in his chest. The incriminating letters may have disappeared, and Laura is the prime suspect. I think people were kind of thought it was going to be like archaeological horror, and it just didn't quite hold, or mystery, and it didn't quite hold up or something. So maybe people were a little critical of it. I do not know when I get to this, but it was a free thing that came with it. It was kind of like a little bonus, which I thought was really nice. So I'm going to read this. I've shown this a couple times in our live streams, and I don't think I've shown it on here. There could be some repeats. There might be a handful of repeats in this, and if there are, I apologize, but only a little bit. Because there's only a little bit of them. But I saw this book and I thought, what a goofy book. And then I read, I was like, but is it any good? And I read a little bit about it, and it is supposed to be pretty good. And I'm really interested in reading it. And it's Circus World by Barry R. Longyear. Got a goofy cover, right? Circus World, right? And I'm not going to read the thing for this, but essentially the concept, I think this is a series of shorter stories, like a fix-up maybe. Yeah, it's got a number of stories in here probably, so it's probably a fix-up of some sort. Here's the back, and essentially it's the idea. The initial concept is a planet that's colonized by a crashed circus ship. This circus ship crashes on a planet. They have to fend for themselves, and they essentially form a colony. So, what would happen if a circus formed a colony? What a cool concept, right? I thought, ooh, that sounds neat. And people really like it, really love it, have a lot of good things to say about it. So, I don't know. It seems like a really fun, interesting and unusual idea. What a fun idea, and critical acclaim is there, or something like that. So, this next one was a Curtis recommendation. I think he recommended it in the live stream he did with Chris and I on the Literally Liminal one that Curtis was on. I don't know which episode that was. Doesn't matter. Maybe 4? Maybe 3 or 4? I don't remember. And that's Orange Eats Creeps. This cover is just amazing, isn't it? Super creepy and great, right? And I think, Curtis had recommended it to me a while ago, and then he talked about some more. I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger on this book. I think the price is reasonable. It says, it's the 90s Pacific Northwest, refracted through a dark mirror where meth and madness hashed out in the woods. A band of hobo vampire junkies roam the blighted landscape, trashing supermarket break rooms, praying to the altar of Poison Idea and Gigi Allen. at the basement rock shows, crashing senior center pancake breakfast, locked in the thrall of Robitussin trips and their own wild dreams. And there's more after that. Hopefully I didn't get too off on that. But it sounds really cool, and he had really good things to say about it. And I honestly really trust Curtis's recommendations anyways. Not just because I've had a lot of success with it, but he has very good taste. Let's put it that way. I really appreciate the taste that he has in stuff, and in finding not just things that are unusual, but that are unusual and good. Because unusual is nice, but if it's not good, it's just like it only goes so far, right? Okay. So we'll do this because this is a nice little stack in the and we'll have to come back. I'll come back to this a couple times, but in that like weird books that I own, my weirdest books I own video I did, I got some really good recommendations, and it made me think some more about some of those weird books that I had wanted to get for a long time, but never bothered to pick up or never went back and got, and just kind of was looking at them, and at least I saw them and looking at some of these books that I had. So I got interested in this series that I had never picked up and always wanted to, and I found 3 of the 4 books. There's 4 books. There's supposed to be 4 books in this series of like short story collections, and I could find 3. Supposedly the first one exists, but I find nothing about it, and it's probably expensive. If anybody happens to know or of one for sale, let me know. I hesitate to say I would get it because it really depends, but I would really like to have all 4 of them. But that's the Leviathan short story collections. I think sometimes they say they're edited by Vandermeer, but they're not necessarily edited by Vandermeer. Vandermeer is in some of these. I don't even know. Yes, this one is edited by Jeff Vandermeer and Rose Seacrest. Rose Seacrest. Sorry, Rose. This is Leviathan 2. And these are short stories. It's a collection of short stories that are unusual, right? So that like weird, not necessarily new weird, although probably this came out. This is like old stuff, right? This is 1998, right? So this is before Vandermeer was certainly way before he was a household name. And I had seen this before and had never picked it up, but I got a good price on it, so I picked it up, and it was cool. I think somebody had a signed edition of it too, and I just couldn't. But it's the person who sold me this this was a good price. Maybe this was the person who had Tea Party. I don't remember. But this was a good price, and I was like, oh, and they made me a very good offer on this book, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do that, right? Sounds cool. So anyway, Leviathans 2. Supposedly 1 exists. Like I said, they see a cover on the Goodreads, like it exists, but nothing. Like even Bookfinder was like, I don't know. Anyhow, I got Leviathans 3. You can see this one's much bigger. This one was pretty inexpensive of the 3. And this is edited by Vandermeer and Forrest. Oh, Forrest, I'm going to get your name wrong. Auguirre. Aguirre. You say it to yourself, and you will not nearly be as irritated with me as I am with myself. So lots of, and I guess I should mention too, like some of the writers in here, and the writers on the face of this one. It says Richard Kildare, Stephen Chapman. I got Stephen Chapman. Stephen, I got your name wrong in that other video. I'm sorry, Stephen Chapman. Even though I was really excited about the book. L. Tamel the Champ, Reese Hughes, David Pringle. David Pringle's name sounds familiar, but I don't know from where. And this one has a list, and I'm going to tell you that you can't even see the names in this book. It's super hard to read, even hard for me, and I'm in front of it. I'm interested to see what Brian Evanson story is in here. I did not notice that. I've not looked at these very much. The Progenitor. Interesting. So this was exciting. Hopefully I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole on that one. Might edit out those. If I edited out those names, I mispronounced too many of them. It was just an embarrassment to everyone. And Leviathan's 4. This one came nice. This one was hardback. This was the last one. And this one is a subtitle of Cities. This one's only edited by Forrest Aguirre. There's his name. Ooh, you can't see it. Can you? Maybe. It won the Philip K. Dick Award, World Fantasy Award, and British Fantasy Award. It was a finalist. Original anthology series. Oh, I guess it won those awards. The series did. It has this one has K.J. Bishop, Jay Lake, Michael Sisko, Stephen Chapman. Yak. Yeah, so Vandermeer did not edit this one. It does not look like he's involved in this one either. I do not see his name in here. But it does have K.J. Bishop and Jay Lake and Stephen Chapman. So that all sounds very cool. So I was excited to get this. My daughter and I played this game, the Arkham Horror card game, and we saw this book, and we picked it up because it just looked kind of neat. Wrath of Nikai. I don't know if I brought this one up or not. I might have brought it up before. So again, don't be upset. So it's in the tradition of Call of Cthulhu or H.P. Lovecraft, right? Probably like a pulpy Lovecraftian story. It's just, I mean, without going into it a whole lot, it just looks fun. It just looked like a fun, kind of fun thing to read. And I was like, I think it was inexpensive. I want to say this was inexpensive. So, we're going to go through the stack right here first. This book I actually got a little while ago and didn't bring it up. I've talked about this book before, and I think it's really interesting. It's very dense reading, extremely dense, even though the book is very small. And I actually talked about this book in this video. That's probably like my least watched video completely. Like I did a review of Congo, and then I talked about this book, and no one watched it. Probably because I recorded it outside because it was like, oh, it's nice and summery like it is now. And I put a microphone on and went out there, and there was a cicada in a tree that was just going nuts for the first 20 minutes. And I was so used to hearing it, I didn't notice it until I went to edit, and I was like, oh, I didn't notice the cicada in the background. Maybe a little bit unwatchable. So it doesn't matter. It's not, I mean, it's whatever. It's not really maybe it probably isn't worth your time. But this book is called What Kind of Creatures Are We by Noam Chomsky. And it's really interesting. It really talks a lot about language, and at least this section I read is about language. I keep meaning to go back and read this entire book. It looks really good, but it is very dense reading. So, and it's nonfiction also. So that's, whatever. Not it is. I'm just pointing that other fact out. Not like that's a disclaimer. Like, oh, it's not fiction. So, not like that. I picked this up. Probably got a good deal on it at half price. And I don't remember anything about it, but it's Eddie Robson's Drunk on All Your Strange New Worlds. Okay. And this one, Linda works as a translator for the Logi cultural attaché to Earth. They work well together even if the act of translating his thoughts into English makes her somewhat wobbly on her feet. She's not the agency's best translator, but what else is she going to do? She has no qualifications and no discernible talent in any other field. So when tragedy strikes and Linda finds herself at the center of an intergalactic incident, her future employment prospects look dire. That is, if she can keep herself out of jail. But Linda soon discovers that help can appear from the most unexpected sources. So I found this at half price, and it just looked good. It just looked like some kind of a fun thing. So I picked it up. Because that's how it is when you like books. You just didn't, like, you just snatch them like the hungry hippo. You're like, that's how it is. That's exactly how it is. If you didn't know that, I'm going to talk about that book in a second. This book, I'm just going to show. I've already done a review of this book, but I found a good copy of Brian Evanson's Last Days. I did review this. Really got into Brian Evanson this year. Really did. Read this book and was just loved it. It's like a hard-boiled detective story slash horror story, I think, or weird story. Really great. I mean, it just went in a direction I did not expect. Super high recommendation. The only caution I would give you is do not read the aforementioned foreword by Peter Straub first, because he just straight out ruins the book. I will compliment the people at Audible because they put that introduction at the end of the book where it belongs. It should be an afterword, not a foreword. Don't read that first. He's going to tell you things and make you think about things that are going to maybe not exactly, that might spoil the book for you. And part of the joy of this book is going, what the hell am I reading? Like, what? I just loved it. If for some reason you did struggle with the book, if it's going to feel, if you read this, it's going to feel uneven. I do recommend my review in this case. I don't normally like to do that, but I do recommend it because if you're not prepared for it, you might put it down thinking this book's just being goofy. And I don't think that it is. I think it's a lot more intelligent than its characters. Super high recommendation for this. Like really one of the best books I've read this year. Maybe I should do that. I might do that. Maybe like the books I've read this year. June was a bad month for me, by the way. This is a terrible month for me reading wise. But anyhow, so I didn't get much read. Just limping along at my reading. I'm back. It's July and I've got new energy, right? So anyhow, highly recommend The Last Days by Brian Evanson. I am super into Evanson now. Super. His name is like he's become like a writer. I'm like, snatch that. I want that book. You wrote a short story? Give me that. Okay. Also I think this was a different book reseller that I saw this, and I think it was very inexpensive. The reviews were kind of mild on it, but I think people came in thinking it was going to be like a really bloody, crazy book, and I think it's a little quieter than that. And that's a John Ferris book, a more recent one called High Bloods. Kind of more of a detective mystery focus than a straight up horror book. So it seemed really interesting. And I was very excited about it. So I picked it up, and I was like, heck yeah, it looks good. It looks like it'd be a good read, even if it's not a bloodthirsty disaster or something, right? Yeah. I don't remember if I've talked about this book or not. I may have. I don't think I did, but I may have. And that's Simon Kurt Unworth's Quiet Houses. I read... So if I brought this up before, here we are talking about it again. It's horror stories, and I came across this just in searches for those weird books, right? I don't know how I found Unsworth, but in those searches for those strange books, when I was looking through them, this book came up. I think it was one of the eBay sellers who did a lot of horror books had this. And I thought it seemed interesting, and I looked it up, and people had such high praise. There wasn't a lot of talk about it, but the people that talked about this writer in this book, the praise was so high, and not like just, it's the best, ! End of comment. Like, they really kind of talked about how excellent the horror is, and how he doesn't write very much, but he writes really, really, really high-end, great stuff. And I think, it is signed. So that's cool. You know what? Why don't I read the back? That would be helpful. The houses are quiet. Is it the residents who are screaming? A chambermaid's seemingly innocent request is granted, an act of kindness that has dire consequences for a guest. An unearthly light in an abandoned bungalow resolves the mystery of a missing child. An invitation to a clifftop graveyard leads to a harrowing chase by things that remain unseen. In an abandoned hotel, work is underway to upgrade the building, but something is stalking the workers. Yeah. There is a hidden agenda to paranormal research. Richard Nakata's investigations into these houses, a commission that witnesses cattle lowering into the cowsheds of Stack's farm long after they've been slaughtered, and a reckoning in the show house of 24 Glass House, as he and his colleagues pay the price for creating their own ghost. Interesting. Simon Kurt Unsworth reinvents the classic English ghost story with a portmanteau collection that takes the haunted house genre and makes it scream quietly. Because the most terrifying screams are the silent ones. It sounded really great. I'm just going to say this because I got it here. Chris talked about this book, Mr. Fox, in a... he did a video, 6 books people don't talk about it much anymore, or something like that. And it sounded really good, so I picked it up. And I got a good price on it. It sounded really cool. If you want to know about it, find that video by Chris. There you go, Chris plug. Now, this book, I knew that he did this. And I was at we were at probably Barnes & Noble, and I was like, I don't know what I want to get today. And I saw this book, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to pick it up. And this is Dead Space, like the game. Martyr, B.K. Evanson. Actually, that's Brian Evanson. Brian Evanson, the guy who wrote Last Days. This is him. He just sort of did a little modification of his name, probably to slightly separate himself from this. I don't really know why, but that was a decision he made. He wrote 2 Dead Space books, and they seem to be pretty well reviewed. I I like his writing, so I'd be interested to see what this is. It reminds me, too, that I really wish. So back when I first discovered Jeff Vandermeer, reading some of his short fiction, one of the things I remember seeing him doing, which I thought was so weird, and I kind of wish, I super wish now that I picked it up, even though it was not something I was interested in reading per se, is that he wrote a novelization for Predator, the Predator universe, right? Like Aliens versus Predator. He wrote that, and I remember him saying, "Oh, I'm going to write the novelization for this." That seems weird. Should have picked it up. It's like a ton of money right now. I'd be selling that book and getting rich. But nope, not happening. I think I've already talked about this book, but since it's right here in front of me, I'm going to talk about it again. Rabbit Heart by Jeremy Wagner. This woman, her fiance gets turned into a zombie, and she's trying to save him, and her dad doesn't like it. I think that was basically the gist of it. Hopefully I'm not shortchanging that book. I have talked about it already before. In researching horror books to read, I found this book, and it's a much more modern book, but it sounds pretty good. It's called Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach, and I feel like I've mentioned this book before too, but that's okay. You're not going to mind. And here I'll read you the back. In an attempt to make sense of his own mysteries and unsettling childhood memories, a man begins to reconstruct his past. As the games and adventures of his youth become engulfed by a larger story, he finds that it forms a tapestry of unbelievable horror. Dang, that sucks. That he never could have expected. Each chapter completes a different piece of the puzzle for both you and the narrator, and by the end of it all, you will wish that you could forget what he never knew. Reviews were good. Seems pretty interesting. I wonder if the concept of pen pals even exists. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore, really, does it? I mean, not with the internet. It was the thing. If you don't know what pen pals are, when I was in school, they're like, "Hey, you're going to write a letter to some kid you don't know who lives probably in another country," and they'll write letters back and forth to you. And most kids, I think, like me, probably wrote a single letter, and then that was it. They got a letter back, and it came to school, and like, "Oh, that's neat," and that was the end of that. Some people kept those relationships up. I do remember people in high school saying that they had kept up with their pen pal and wrote back and forth. I don't know to what degree that would continue long term, but I think it's interesting. It was kind of actually starting to fall out of fashion, even in the 90s and late 80s when I was in school. It was probably a thing that's probably a slightly earlier generation would have been a little more involved with. That's the end of that part of that story. Another horror book that I found that I think is really cool, and I'm excited to read this, and I want to read this soon because I don't think we're going to read it for the horror channel, but I might put on the red robe, as it were, to read this, and that is Albert Sanchez Pinol's Cold Skin. Now, this book, when I read about this book, I was like, ooh, I want to read this book for sure. On the edge of the Antarctic Circle, in the years after World War I, a steamship approaches a desolate island far from all shipping lanes. On board is a young man on his way to assume the post of weather official. Here he plans to live in solitude for a year at the cold end of the earth, but on shore he finds no trace of the man whom he has been sent to replace, only the lighthouse, a deserted cabin, and the surrounding sea, and a mysterious castaway. Then night begins to fall. Albert Sanchez Pinol's Cold Skin is one of the strangest, most unsettling works of contemporary Spanish fiction, an internationally acclaimed tour de force of darkness and sensual anxiety. Reading a little bit more than what this told me about the book, I was like, ooh, I want to read it. It sounded good. It sounded like really good. And the reviews were like, that means good. If you ever read a review and he goes, you're like, oh, that's a good one. Keep it. Like a good energy today. Yeah? Well, how long have I been talking? 4? I'm not going to say. The time won't be the same because I'll be editing it on. This was another Curtis recommendation. I don't remember if I brought it up before, but it sounds. He told me about it, and it was he gave me a list at one point. I'm like, tell me some strange, unusual books that you recommend. And he gave me a list, and this was one of the ones of like the 10 or so books that he listed. This was one of the ones I was like, oh, I want to read that book, and I finally found a copy of it, and that's The 100 Brothers by Donald Antrim. Well, you know what I'm doing, Donald. It's okay. Because, you know what? You can mispronounce my name if you like. Here's what the back of the book says, and this is just great. And Curtis did say, like, you should read this book, like, all at once. Like, just read it, because it's, like, I don't know. I was like, oh. So he made me even more interested when he told me, like, oh, you got that book? Read it like this. I was like, okay. Here's what it says. There's Rob, Bob, Tom, Paul, Ralph, and Noah. Nick, Dennis, Bertram, Russell, and Virgil. The doctor, the documentary filmmaker, and the sculptor in Burning Steel, the eldest, the youngest, and the celebrated perfect brother, Benedict, and Donald Atram's, I hope I said his name right, mordantly funny novel, The 100 Brothers. Our narrator and his colossal fraternity of 98 brothers, one couldn't make it, have assembled in the crumbling library of their family's estate for a little sinister fun. Executed with the invention and intelligence of Bathleem and Pishon. That must be a last name that I cannot pronounce. You're welcome. This book's taxonomy of male specimens in equal proportions, disturbing and absurdly hilarious. It sounded like a hell of a good time. Anyways, so I love the idea of like 100 brothers. That sounded awesome. Sounded so cool. This book's out. Oh wait, let's see. So yep, it's got the sticker still on it. I watched Speculative Readers discussion about John Brunner, and I really liked it, and it got me really interested in getting some Brunner. And I showed a fantasy novel of his, but I happened to be at half price. I think I might have 2 of his books here, and saw this book, and I picked it up, and I really like this. It looks like it's a well, maybe not. It looks like it's a sci-fi book club edition, and it is a book club edition. I was wrong. John Brunner's The Crucible of Time. Why do I do the long? Hold up. There it is, $6.49. Maybe paid a little less. You never know. Might have had a coupon or something. It sounded good. John Brunner. It's a sci-fi book about a huge rotating artificial globe. The folk assembled await the retelling of an age-old story. Before them swam a blur of light. Around them a waft of pheromones, and the sound began. The images took form. Anyway, so I'm not going to get into it a whole lot because I don't know if I want to read the back of every book here. When it sounded, I was like, oh, I want to get some Brunner. He got me super interested in it, and so I picked it up. And I don't know where I got this from eBay. Probably came through a list of like, ooh, you get so many. Like sometimes they're like, oh, you get 4 books. You get 3 books, you get 1 free. And so I'm like, well, so I'm getting 4 books, and this was one of them. And I read one of the stories in here last night and really liked it. This is a supernatural noir. It's got a cool cover too. That I cannot hold straight to the camera. That the eye there, like the lady's looking through the crow's eye. It's weird, right? And it's just like noir stories, so they're like hardboiled detective stories. Right? Noir is really a term more for movies. Not trying to be that guy, but I think it's sort of like become a term, a like go-to term for that. What essentially is hard-boiled detective stories anyways. And this is those stories with the supernatural slant. Had Gregory Forrest, Paul Tembley, Melaine Tem, Caitlin Kiernan, Brian Evanson, Lucas Shepard, Leigh Barron, Nick Mantis, Lee Thomas, Jeffrey Ford, Elizabeth Bear. I'm just skipping a little bit. And Joe R. Lansdale in here. It's a Dark Horse Press book. That's interesting. It just sounded good. There's a couple names in there that I was interested in, so I'm like, okay, and it was a good price. And that's how that went. Chris recommended this book to me, and I picked it. Oh, I forgot to bring a book down here. It doesn't matter. Chris recommended this book to me, and I picked it up, and that's Italo Calvino's 6 Memos for the Next Millennium. He said it's a really good book for like essentially writing advice in a sense. And I really do like it. There is the man himself, Mr. Calvino. It's good stuff. I mean, what am I going to say? I like Italo Calvino. I don't need to sell it very hard. Chris and Ira and some other people have been talking about this Delaney book. And I've been meaning to read it. So I got this edition of Babel 17, right? That has Empire Star on the back. That's awesome. Pick that up. You know, you want to find out more about that. There's reviews for that. I believe it's on Chris's channel, but it could be on Ira's channel. It's one of those guys. Look around, you find it. My wife got me this for a. What did she give me this for? I don't remember. It was for some occasion. She got me some stuff. It was very nice for her. She's a sweetheart, and she's very. Oh, it's probably Father's Day, and she got me this Sarah Anderson Cryptid Club. Right? These are like comics. right? Very silly comics, and these are fun. So she really likes these comics, and these are fun. They're all like cryptids and doing stuff and everything else. Anyway, so this is good stuff. I was like, ooh, this is fun. So it was very, very sweet of her. She's a sweetheart. In fact, I love her. That's one of the reasons I married her. Have I shown this book before? I talked about this book a while back, and I did pick up this first book, and I have not got a chance to read it yet. But Celia Thornton's The Ill-Made Mute. This is book 1 of the Bitterbine trilogy, I believe. Seems good. Seems cool. I haven't gotten to read it yet, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, yes. Now, I picked this book up because I've been wanting to read it. I think I might try to coerce someone into reading this with me. We'll see. And that's Richard Barrington, The Hawkline Monster, a Gothic Western. There's a lot of talk. When you read about this book, there's a lot of talk about, like, this book sure is written in a way. And that's what they say. Like, this book sure is written a certain way. And I'm like, what does that mean? I read a little bit of it. It's a very short, short style, like a very, I don't want to say abbreviated style, but just a very matter of fact, quick writing style. It doesn't have a lot of flourishes in it, which is okay with me. Had a lot of good things to say about it. Said it was kind of funny and also very scary in a sense. So that sounds cool. There's, I guess, the writer himself. Right? This novel is known. It's got a thing. It's kind of a little bit collectible. So depending on how nice an edition you want, this one I got a good price, probably because the dust jacket's a little bit beat up, but not too bad. Oh, it still has a little thrift. See, look at the little thrift book sticker. Don't you love those? I hate them. Oh, I did bring this book down here. This is another book. My wife is in the middle of reading this. I don't know why. It's not very long. And that I wanted to read. I haven't got a chance to read it yet, but it is very short. It is James Thurber's 13 Clocks. And she's got the cute little beads there, so she knows where she's at. She hates cute stuff, so I don't know why she does not like cute stuff. Well, that's not entirely true. Doesn't like everything cute. Anyways, that looks really good. That's a cool thing. I don't know, does it even say what this book's about? It said, once upon a time in a gloomy castle on a lonely hill where there were 13 clocks that wouldn't go, there lived a cold, aggressive duke and his niece, the princess Sardlina. She was warm in every wind and weather, but he was always cold. His hands were as cold as his smile and almost as cold as his heart. He wore gloves when he was asleep, and he wore gloves when he was awake, which made it difficult for him to pick up pins or coins or the kernels of nuts, or to tear the wings from nightingales. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so a fantasy novel. A lot of good praise for this and his writing in general. So I'm excited. Not a very long book. This makes it seem like there's something there, but I think the print is, oh yeah, see, it even has, it's almost like a children's book. So, and the print is large too. Oh, and I got the little thingies in the western. And see, look at this little front piece there. Wasn't that pretty? Anyways, it's supposed to be very good. I heard somebody talking about this, and I was like, oh, I've never heard of that. It was published originally in Heavy Metal, and this is John Findley's Text Arcana. And this was originally published in Heavy Metal magazine. And this is a black and white reprint. Well, I guess they weren't originally black and white. It might be hard to see. Of these sort of like weird Western comics, right? Kind of like a horror slant. This was I got this from Amazon. This was a print-on-demand book. I'm fairly certain. But the price was very reasonable for this. And the quality is a really good print quality. Probably the best choice probably to be softback in this case, even though I don't always love these kinds of softback books because sometimes these covers can curl. I heard about this book. I wanted to get it. I got it. And that is Futaro Umada's The Koga Ninja Scrolls. Right? This is the book that the anime Ninja Scroll came from. I got it sourced from the show Basilisk, sorry. The Ninja Show Basilisk, and probably a few other things. Essentially warring ninja clans, and two, kind of like a Romeo and Juliet thing, kind of like these, like he's in one ninja clan and she's in another, and the clans are at war, and then there's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet thing going on. But they're ninja clans and they're fighting each other, and there's crazy stuff going on and everything. And I heard this is a really fun book. I don't know. So what's weird is I'm not entirely certain of the publication history of this. I don't really know when it was originally written. See, it says English translation, copyright is 2006. Originally published in 2005. But I thought that it was older than that. But I guess I just probably thought wrong. But you can correct me if you knows better. We talked about this writer. Actually, Richard brought him up, and I saw this book at half price and for the cheap, and picked it up. And it's the complete short SF of Frederick Brown. $3. You can see a little tag up there. $3 American. It's a good price. It's got some stuff going on here. Can you see that? Yeah, it's got some stuff. I'll have to do some cleaning. I thought about doing a cleaning video. Everybody else is doing it. Why can't I do it? Anyways, I might do one. And clean books. That seems like such a fun thing to watch somebody else do. This is the other book over there. And I used to have this book in paperback, and I ordered it. I didn't even know it was going to come in hardback, and it's like perfect condition, so it's an upgrade. And that's Cities. And it's 4 novellas, one by China Melville, Michael Moorcock, Paul DeFilippo, and Jeff Raymond. I was picking up something. Okay, let's start with this. Brian was talking about this book, I think when he was on the live stream with Chris and I. And I was like, oh, that book looks cool. And I was like, Brian, I want to read that book with you if you read it. And I do. So I picked it up, and it's an analog book. It's Class 6 Climb. Don't you love that picture? I kind of read about it, and they said it's fun. It's a fun book. It's not trying to do anything crazy, but it's good, it's fun. I thought it was interesting. It was analog. This was originally a series of short stories that's sort of like a fix-up, I guess. William E. Cochrane. Yes, I said that correctly, I think. Anyways, that book looks cool, and I am interested in reading that with him. So while I was there, that store is like, oh yeah, you buy 3, you get 1. So here we go. Also found Richard K. Cadraney, The Metrophage. Look at that one. Class 6 Climb, by the way, the last one, is about people climbing a giant tree in Alien World. That's basically about it. And stories about that. I mean, there's probably more to that, but you get the idea. This one, it says, welcome to Los Angeles, where anger, hunger, and disease run rampant, and life and hope are strictly rationed. This is Johnny's world. He's a streetwise hustler, a black market dealer in drugs that heal the body and cool the mind. All he cares about is his own survival until a strange new plague turns LA into a city of death. Johnny is forced to put everything on the line to find the cure, if it can be found on Earth. Okay, good luck, Johnny. This book, because it looked fun, Michael Armstrong's After the Zap. The Zap. I love it. I'm not going to read the back. It's a post-apocalyptic novel with craziness. Look at that guy. Orange hair, orange spiky hair, fires, submachine guns, zeppelins. Yeah. This looks like it'd be a hell of a fun book to read. Probably pretty goofy, but I mean, that's what you go in, you don't expect like, oh, well, I don't know. What was the message of the zap? I mean, what was the zap to you? I know what it was to me. Anyhow, looks fun. This is a John Brunner book I found, and it just looked fun. It says I think it's supposed to be the 3rd one. It said in a series, but I'm not certain it's in a series for sure. Productions of Time. And I gotta say, this guy here, the guy that has the hair, kind of looks like Philip K. Dick to me, which I think is a little weird. Kind of has a little bit of Philip K. Dick action going on there. It says Murray Douglas has been a theatrical star until he hit the bottle once too often, but now he had broken the habit, and handsome and fit, he was ready to come back. The most challenging opening available was an avant-garde play where the actors themselves would make up the drama as they went along. But at the isolated country estate where the rehearsals were going on, Murray found himself trapped on a real-life day and night stage in which nothing was as it seemed, in which inexplicable devices monitored everything and eerie lures attracted each actor's psychological weakness. Who then was the real sponsor of this terrifying play, and to what alien audience was it being presented? Does that not sound cool as hell? Well, if you don't think so, I'm sorry for you, because it does. This book is a werewolf book. Ray Garton, Ravenous. Look at that. Wolf on the front, snarly wolf. Yeah. It's a werewolf story. I'm not going to read the back. We can only do so much of this. Looks good. Looks good. I got to go. With this, I got to go get going. I can't be too much time. I saw the first one of these, and it looked cool. And then I'm like, all right, I guess I got to get the rest. And so the first one I saw was this book, and it just looked cool. It just looked cool, and it's an aliens book in the aliens universe, and it's book 3, The Female War. And look at that. That covers. I was like, okay, and it sounded kind of cool, and I'm like, all right, I'll read this book. Steve Perry wrote it. You know, oh Sherry. No, not that Steve. At least I don't think it is. And I also got book 1, Earth Hive. Look at that. Yeah, Steve Perry's first book. Aliens, yeah. And then we got the second one. The titles were the title was getting me too. I was like, oh, Nightmare Asylum. Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. Now, I don't want to go to a Nightmare Asylum, but I want to read about one. As long as there's aliens doing alien stuff. Sounds super cool. And I saw this book also, and one of these books, I don't know which one I saw first. And I thought, well, I want these books. And this is book 2. And that's Sherry S. Tepper's books. The first one is The Song of Marvin, Minishaped. See if I can get that and mostly in focus. That's pretty cool. Then book 2, The Flight of Maven, Minishaped. Maybe this was recommended to me. I don't remember. No, I don't think it was. I think I just found it. And The Search of Marvin, Minishaped. Did I say The Flight? Yeah. It looks good. They're kind of like strange fantasy novels. They looked fun. So I got them. Yes, now we see. This actually came not exactly from a recommendation, but sort of from Undead Viking was doing a book review, and he mentioned this book, and I found a good price on a copy, and it's Celine. So it says. I hope I'm saying it right. And it's Journey to the End of the Night. And I don't know if it gives the exact synopsis of the book back here. I don't know that it does. But he said it was a great book that he's read a few times and highly recommended. So I was interested in getting this, and I don't know when I plan to read this, but I do plan to read it because it sounds really great, and he's got some really great recommendations too, right? He's mostly a gaming channel, RPG and board game channel, but he does some book reviews here and there, and the book reviews are always good, really good book reviews. Like he's like, you could just do a booktube guy, man. Anyhow, this one goes out to Nick from the Book Graveyard. He was in that video of the weird books that I own. He was like, the weirdest book I ever read was this book. And I was like, oh, and I ordered it with some other books. And then the order came, I thought, something seems like it's missing. I'm like, yeah, where is that book? And it didn't come. And then I looked and they refunded it. So I guess, I don't know what happened. Like, you can't have that book. So I had to order it again. But I got it. It's Oliver Pavert, whatever. Noir, a novel. And he said Nick was like, this book is super damn weird. It's a dystopian book. I kind of got some like 1984-ish. Well, okay, it says it's comparing it to Children of Men and Albert Camus's The Stranger. So, okay, seems cool. So I was like, I'm picking it up, and I did. This is one of those books that you just run across, and you're like, I need a 4th book, and I'm like, well, what's this book? And I looked it up. I thought, this actually looks kind of cool, and so I got it. Jeff Noon, A Man of Shadows. A Man of Shadows. This is a city unlike any other, one half held in perpetual daylight, the other in permanent darkness. Below the neon skies of Day Zone, where the lights never go out, the night has been banished. Lowly private eye, John Nyquist, hopefully I got that right. I just give up. Takes on a teenage runaway case. His quest takes him from Day Zone into the blackness of the city's other side, Nocturna. An invisible serial killer the press have named Quicksilver haunts the streets. Nyquist starts to suspect the runaway girl holds within her the keys to the city's fate. In the end, there's only one place left to search: the shadowed, choked zone known as Dusk. So, okay. And then Adrian Tchaikovsky, the guy who wrote Children of Time, said it's a disturbing and bizarre journey by one of the great masters of weird fiction. And I think he had another book too that looked good. So, there's that. Oh, I'll do this. This one's a beast. It's right here. In the live stream, the last live stream Nick did, the guys from Men's Adventure magazine, one of the guys mentioned this book, and I looked it up, and I did find a good copy of it, and it's the one that does have all the stuff that they cut later, and it's this book. Look at that, Men's Adventure magazine, and it's just essentially art book with some articles, lots of great stuff. It just looked like it was a good price. I was like, I'm doing it, and I did it, and it looks good. It looks good. It has the forbidden articles. I don't know if they're forbidden. People apparently they got some flack from having some stuff about Nazis in there, and people were like, ugh. It wasn't like pro that. It was just like talking about the fiction that existed. Whatever. And then they got heat from they cut it. So this is supposedly it is. I already looked. This is the stuff in there from the original. I mentioned this in that book, in the review of the weird books I got. There's the other book that this guy Richard Garfunkel, has written, All of an Instant, and it's about, what does it say? All of an Instant is a groundbreaking sci-fi novel that chronicles the discovery of a medium of existence outside of time, the instant, from which one can influence all past and future history. War dominates this strange, abstract plane. War among forces contending for control of all time and place, from the opening pages, which range from the distant past to the far future, with constant and unremitting distorting effects on our world and time, transforming it beyond recognition. The war in the instant is mind-stretching science fiction. Yeah, and that's what I remember, it being like kind of hard to follow. But I thought I'm going to give it a chance, and it was like, I got this for like $3 extra. X library, right? Boom. Literally put an X on it. Excellent. This is the book I'm reading right now. One of the books. I'm reading three books. I'm reading some books. And this is what I'm reading right now, and I really do like it. Jack Dan, who I mentioned in that same video, because he had a quote on the back of somebody's book, whose book I don't remember. And I looked him up, and this was the book that he's written that had some pretty positive stuff to say about it. I'm reading it, and I kind of like it. The Man Who Melted. Yeah. And it says, the great scream, a telepathic tidal wave of fear, anger, and insanity, not long before, swept the earth, and those who had been spared from this siren were called to annihilation. Hid behind self-imposed walls of isolation for safety, was no longer in numbers, but in avoiding large gatherings that might prove both catalyst and fuel for another, perhaps a final, great scream. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I got a little bit of like Scanners vibes from this, but just a little bit. I don't think that's really what this is going for, so that's probably an inaccurate description. But it sounded really interesting. And here's a quote by Zelazny. We don't hear those all the time. A powerful and fascinating book, a dance of life and death in the streets of a swaying Pompeii, written with grace, subtlety, and intense character insight. It is almost hypnotic in the hold it takes upon the reader. I recommend it highly. Roger Zelazny, author of the Amber Chronicles, because that's all anybody except for Chris ever talks about. Not true, but I'm being a little silly. Someone in that same video, the Weird Books, also recommended a writer, Paul Park, and I was able to pick up a number of Paul Park books. In fact, 3 of this series, the first being Soldiers of Paradise. And I don't remember what the series is called, but that's okay, because I just don't remember. And it'll probably come forward anyways later. a little crinkly there. Well, be careful. But yeah, but this seems really good. This is it says, so here immediately, like I read this and like, oh well, I think this guy might be onto something. Paul Park has created a strange, elaborate, distant future that is reminiscent of Gene Wolfe's classic, The Book of the New Sun, set on a world where the seasons go on for decades and the sky rains sugar in the spring. Soldiers of Paradise follows two men, misfits of their elite caste, through the dark and gaudy streets of a phantasmagorical city. There's more, but that's all you get right now until I read it. Then I got, this is a book 2. I don't know if this is book 2 or not. The Cult of Loving Kindness in that self-same series. And the book after that, Sugar Rain. Right? Because this is Sugar Rain. Remember I said that just a second ago. Yeah, and we're almost to the end here. I think the last book is going to be this Brian Evanson book I picked up. I don't know where I got it. I think I got it from Thrift. And it's Brian Evanson's Immobility. I think there's another novel that goes along with this, or maybe it's a novella. I don't remember. When your eyes open, things already seem to be happening without you. You don't know who you are, and you don't remember where you've been. You know the world has changed, that a catastrophe has destroyed what used to exist before, but you can't remember exactly what did exist before, and you're paralyzed from the waist down. Apparently, you don't remember that either. Our man claiming to be your friend tells you that your services are required. Something crucial has been stolen, but what he tells you about it doesn't quite add up. You've got to get back, or something bad is going to happen, and you've got to get back fast so they can freeze you again before your own time runs out. Before you know it, you're being carried through a ruined landscape in the backs of two men in hazard suits who don't seem anything like you at all, heading towards something you don't understand that may well end up being the death of you. Welcome to the life of Joseph Horakai. I am super excited about the Wolf and Wyvern. Huge thanks to Nicholas Snelling. And that was really the whole thing. I wanted to do this. I was like, I'm going to unpack this thing. Thanks very much for watching. That's it. Hopefully we get this live stream thing figured out. I don't really know what the hell's going on. I'm sure it's something silly. I think both Chris and I know it's something silly. And we're silly people. Yep. I think that's it. I don't know. I don't really have a drum roll. See you later. Wait a minute. Bye.